Between concrete walls, there's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to Livestream. It's good to be back. It's good to be here again after a week off because I went to Rotor Riot Rampage and rampaged. If by rampage you mean drank White Claws and sang karaoke, that's rampaging, right? How are you guys doing today? Welcome to the Livestream. Refreshing. In honor of Rampage, I'm wearing my Drib shirt today. My Drib motors. He still flies these motors. I asked him. I needed a 4S pack for my goggles, for my DJI goggles, and I only had 6S packs. I had a 4S goggle pack with me that I had somehow misplaced, and great. Got water on my shirt. Fantastic. And I only had 6S packs with me for flying, and I said, hey, Drew, do you got a 4S pack? And he was like, yeah, that's all I have. Drew still flies 4S because, of course, his motors are 2700 kV. I was like, oh, well, can I have one? And I still have his battery. So there you go. Rotor Riot Rampage was pretty amazing. Should you not use 6S with DJI packs? DJI goggles V1 are only rated till 17 volts. I've heard of people using 6S with them, but I never feel great about that. So I don't like to exceed the manufacturer's recommendations. I fly it on 4S. Am I repping Drib's gear because he loves White Claws while Cricket hates them? Very good question, Ryzex. Speaking of Cricket, I don't know if you can see. No, you probably can't see. up there on the wall, I got a moon goat build now with some Cricket motors on it. I was at Rampage. I crashed my quad. I smashed a motor, and this is the problem with bringing mismatched builds. Because if you are serious about, well, I mean, if you just want to have fun, just bring whatever. But if you're serious about preparedness, let's put it that way, then you should bring matched builds. Just bring 3 of the same build, because if you smash a motor or break an arm, then you just take it off one of the other builds and you've always got spares, right? When I was doing Rotoride episodes, I would try to show up with like 3 or 4 of the same build. That was my plan. Then you don't need to bring spares, see? You break something, you just pick the next quad and you keep flying. And then later that night, you take all your quads and you make as many working quads as you can out of those parts. But I had mismatched builds. I smashed a motor. I switched to my next quad. I smashed a motor. And you can mix and match motors. It's not great. It's not the best idea. So I needed spares. So Rotoride had the store there. And I looked at all the motors for sale. And of all the motors that were available, the ones that stood out the most to me were the Vanovers and the Crickets. I thought the lower KV of the Cricket motor might be better for freestyle. So I got some Cricket motors there. And I got a moon goat. And I transplanted the guts of one of my other builds into it. Right there. Yeah. So can you suggest a website to sell my Tyro? Asks George Gorzolidis. George, I'm gonna promote here the website fpvexchange.com. FPV Exchange. Actually, I got to meet the guy who started this website at Rampage. It was very nice meeting and talking with him. I've heard good things about this site from other folks out there who use it. It is a website specifically for selling and trading FPV items. There's other places you can go. There's like the Facebook FPV Marketplace. Absolutely. But this is the one I'm going to show you. It's a pretty cool site, FPV Exchange. Like, let's pick the country. Oh, here, I'm going to allow it to know my location. Country, United States. So my country, United States, condition, let's say new, used, and by the way, you can sell here as well. Used like new. What am I looking for? I don't know. Now, even got items here. Ciati is selling services. Look at that. Ciati's selling services as well as products. And one of the cool things about this site is if you want to, you can sync orders, and you can log in and it can download your Shopify like order history from stores. So it'll just know everything you've got, and then if you want to sell it or trade it, then boom, you can do it. So there, that's what we're doing. Welcome to the live stream. You guys are gonna ask questions. I'm gonna answer them. Take a look right here at my main screen. Oh, I'm a little out of sorts because I've been gone all week. Jeez. You guys are going to ask questions. I'm going to answer them. You guys here in the YouTube chat. What's your opinion of the moon goat? See, there's a question. I did a review of some lightweight frames. The moon goat is a solid frame. You can watch my review, my lightweight freestyle frame review, where I round up a bunch of frames, including the moon goat. It's a really solid frame. I think I steered away from it because I wanted something just a little roomier. I can't remember. But obviously now I own one, so, I'm going to get to beat the crap out of it and see how it stands up. If you want to make sure that I get your question, because there are so many questions going by that I'm going to miss. If you want to make sure that I get your question, hit that $ right down there. You can see people doing it right now. Leave a super chat. Like, holy crap, this super chat from Xenakis FPV. It's a big super chat. Thank you, sir. I'm guessing Xenakis is the FPV. He says, baller for dropping the site. More fixes and tweaks to come. I'm guessing that he is the developer of FPV Exchange. So you can hit that $ and leave a super chat if you want to make sure I get your message. I will also be taking questions from the regular chat, like this one from Nathaniel. What's the airspeed velocity of a swallow? That depends on if it's an African or a European swallow. Oh, man. Monty Python. I was in college theater. I know too many Monty Python sketches, but we're not going to go there. In addition, can I throw a shout out here to my Discord server? These people over here are my patrons on my Discord server, and we'll be taking questions from them as well. Say hello, Discord. There they are. Okay, wow, Moblades. Okay, let's keep it family friendly there, my friend. You know, there's another item here that has to be shouted out. Unfortunately, it's not a happy item. Reminded of it over here while looking at FPV Exchange. Some sad news in the FPV community. Sean Corcoran, also known as Sean the Don, passed away this weekend. I actually met him. He was at Rampage. I met him and actually interviewed him at Rampage. And he went back to Atlanta and was flying with some of the folks over there. I think a whole bunch of people, Cricket, Slat, Ciotti, Steele, a bunch of other people. Erodio, I'm pretty sure, went. They all went back there. They were flying. And at some point over the weekend, he passed away. So there is a GoFundMe right now to raise money for his family. And just going to give that a little shout out. I can say, you know, I don't usually go out of my way to promote GoFundMes, but this is 100% legit. And I just want to pass that on. If you knew him or if you want to support him, then that's how you can do it. I'll go ahead and put a link. I'll go ahead and put a link here in the chat if you care to. The only I suppose the only sort of, I mean, I want to say silver lining, but obviously there's no silver lining when somebody dies. But it is nice that his last days were hopefully spent doing something he really, really loved. I hope, he went to Rampage. It seemed like he was having a great time getting to meet people and fly. And then he went back to Atlanta and was just like totally ripping balls with all these wonderful people. And, I mean, I guess if you got to go, then, at least you got that last pack. I'm not trying to make light of it, but it was the thought that I had. Family of 5 kids. So it's a real shame. He has a Discord as well. What's the link to his? Didn't he have a Discord server as well? Did a bunch of streaming. I put a link to his Discord server, which I'm sure is going to keep going. Anyway, pass that on. Always sad when a sort of a titan of the community passes away, but there you go. All right, let's get on with the live stream. I'll read out a couple of these super chats just to get that out of the way. Andrew Power, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm one of the idiots who impulse bought a DJI FPV and now I want a real FPV. What parts of the DJI FPV combo can I use with another quad? The goggles. That's basically it. Just the goggles. The rest of it, the controller is not usable with any other quad at this time. And the drone obviously isn't. Andy Clark, thanks for a $5 super chat. Did you ever find your GoPro from your ProTech 25 review? I did. It was under the stairs. You ever lost anything else from a quad? I mean, I have lost GoPros off a quad and not found them. It sucks. It sucks. It's a terrible way. I mean, if you break the GoPro, then you can best buy it or use insurance. But, yeah. If you lose the GoPro, you're out of luck. Corey, Cricket. Cricket is a stand-up guy, can I say? I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there who's met Cricket who thinks he's not a stand-up guy. At Rampage, he had just unboxed a brand new GoPro 9, and there was this kid there, and the kid was like, I've never flown with a GoPro. I guess he couldn't afford a GoPro, or I'm not sure why, but The kid wanted to get some high def footage. He only had DVR, and Cricket gave the kid his GoPro, his brand new Hero 9, and he said, "Look, just don't lose it." He said, "Don't lose it. If you break it, that's fine," because Cricket breaks GoPros like the rest of us, pop chewing gum. But he said, "Just don't lose it." And he gave the kid his Hero 9, and the kid went and flew with it all day and gave it back to him at the end of the day. Stand-up guy. So don't lose the camera. That sucks. Breaking the camera. Except he hates White Claws. Yes, that's true. That is a downside. It's a problem with Cricket, but I think no one's perfect. Ghost Branch FPV says, I hear Cricket is looking to do one final live stream from Sean's YouTube channel in his memory. That would be pretty cool. A little memorial live stream. He's a good pilot too, Cricket. There are not many people out there who go toe to toe with Steele, and I know it's sort of cliche to say nice things about Steele's piloting. It's almost a trope, but he's a good pilot, right? Obviously, he's certainly one of the most technically skilled pilots out there, and Cricket is. I mean, no one is on Steele's level when it comes to technical ability. Few people are, and Cricket isn't. Like, I don't mean that to take away from him. It's like they're just different styles. But where Cricket is absolutely on anybody's level is in his willingness to just throw himself at a trick and get it. And they were challenging themselves, challenging each other to do different gaps, different dive gaps and high speed maneuvers, and it was really, really something to watch. It's great to see. It's like the difference between an album and a live concert. If you've got two sort of great musicians and they're like riffing off each other, there's an energy and a give and a take there that it is just, it's not the same if you hear it on an album. So you watch Cricket or Steele's YouTube and you're like, oh, he hit that great trick. But to see them in person, challenging each other back and forth, pack by pack, is a real treat. Elias Benzawiya, thank you for €5. I flashed my T-Motor Mini Stack F7 with the wrong version. Is there an option to recover the default version? I mean, you can always reflash it by holding down the bootloader button and reflashing it. Hold down the bootloader button, plug in USB, and then reflash it. You have to figure out what the correct firmware version is, though. The best way to do it is to, when you first get the flight controller, you do a diff all and you save that text file, and then you can always go back. Otherwise, you can just try like T-Motor Mini F7. Let's see if we can figure it out. So what I always do is I just go to like T-Motor Mini F7. I go to the product page and I just look. I just look to see if it's there. Boom. See right here, firmware T-Motor F7. Okay, so now that I've seen that on the product page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the firmware flasher page. And I'm going to look for that firmware. Is it there? Because sometimes the name isn't quite right, or they don't put it correctly. But boom, T-Motor F7. So that's the correct firmware that you need to flash. And that's the answer. That's how you do that. A lot of debate over on the Discord server about White Claw. The pros, see, here's the thing. Ryzik says Budweiser, Cora. First of all, if you're defending Budweiser, you don't get to put anything down. Like, I'm not down on you if you like whatever, drink what you like, right? But you can't be like, White Claws suck. You know what's good? Budweiser. They are both just trash liquor, right? You can like drinking them, but it's not like neither of them is like, ooh, now that is some premium alcohol. Okay. Okay, so first of all, Budweiser, Corona's okay. Corona, even a blah blah blah. Here's the thing. Sometimes you know, like, you just want a White Claw is basically you're just drinking shots. It has no, like, beer has carbohydrates. It's sort of filling. It's like White Claw, I think, is just like, it's sort of like a light beer, but even lighter. You're just drinking seltzer-flavored water with alcohol in it. You're essentially drinking, it's like you drank a shot and then you just chugged some water to go with it. You know, I'm not defending it. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, there's a reason you drink it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's good. Aina wants to know when the giveaway of the Firefly will be announced. The cutoff date was just yesterday, midnight. So, soon. White Claw is the modern day wine cooler. But wine coolers are full of sugar. Many of the people who switch to drinking White Claw do it either because they want something low calorie or because they don't want the gluten and the sugar. 2 grams of carbs, the same as most beer. Is that true? It's only 100 calories, though. 2 grams of carbs? Beer doesn't have 2 grams of carbs. That can't be right. That can't be right. Beer has to have more than 2 grams of carbs. No. 12 grams. Beer is made with wheat and barley. Of course it has more than 2 grams of carbs. Beer nutritional information. Light beer. Okay, light beer. That's, yeah, absolutely. White Claw is essentially light beer for people who don't want the taste of beer. Anyway. When am I doing another build series? Asks Mark Alcendi. Mark, I will be doing another build series. The next build series I plan to do is the JB Perfect Freestyle build. I am waiting on my frame to come from Lumineer, and it is very, very soon to arrive. In fact, I think it is currently in the mail from Get FPV, and yeah. So I'll be doing that, and it'll be coming out around the time the frame is available to the public, and yeah. That's coming soon. It's been coming soon for a long time, so I don't blame you if you're not thrilled with that idea. Like, oh, it's coming soon. Yeah. So the only reason to drink White Claw is that you ran out of everything else, says License to Drive. Yeah, I'm not going to defend it. Am I going to try grease on the frame, asks Mark Webster. This is a thing suggested by Chris Rosser, the aerospace engineer, and Kebab. So apparently there is this kind of damping grease that's used in industrial applications. It is a specific grease for damping vibrations, and people have been trying. Kebab specifically has been talking about putting it on frames to help damp the vibrations. I'm not going out of my way to make my builds more complicated. You see what I mean? If I get good performance out of a simpler build, that's why I was never... people are like, oh, I did a video where I showed that soft mounting motors made a difference. And people said, do you still soft mount your motors? And I'm like, I never soft mounted my motors. I showed that soft mounting motors made a difference. It's like, you know, putting a knee brace on helps support your knee when you run, which I, of course, do a lot of. You can tell. But it doesn't mean I'm going to wear a knee brace every day. Because if my knee is, like, not injured and not in need of additional support, I'm just going to go jog, right? And I think of these things like that. If you get good flight performance out of a simpler build, then just do the simpler build. People talked about that the Impulse RC Apex has really, really good vibration performance. People talked about some other frames, mostly solid bottom plate frames, that have bad resonance issues. But people fly both of those frames and love them. You may be statistically more likely to have problems with a frame that has resonance issues. You may not be able to push the tune to that nth degree. But if you're not trying to do that anyway, maybe it doesn't matter. And that's how I feel about some of these things. It's interesting that we can show that you can get better resonance performance by putting like electrical tape or some kind of grease on the frame. But if it's the same reason I don't put conformal coating on every single one of my solder joints. Sometimes I do. Most of the time I don't, because I'm just lazy. But it's nice to know that it's a thing you can do if you want to, and if it's going to make a difference for you. Can I use the open logger black box logging unit on a Radix Lee? I don't see why not. Just a UART. Just set a UART up as smart as black box. Simeon Burgi says, I'm going to buy and build my first quad. Do you recommend the Caddx Air Unit or the Caddx Nebula Pro? I'd take the Nebula Pro because I feel like the weight, the lighter weight. So the Air Unit has dual antennas and onboard DVR recording. Those are the main advantages. But it's heavier by, I think it's maybe 10-ish grams. To me, the lighter weight and smaller size of the Nebula Pro / Vista, to me that is worth the trade-off. I don't really use the onboard DVR anyway. Most of the time, the goggle DVR is good enough for whatever I might want to do. And the larger size of the Air Unit means that you have to use a larger frame and generally tends to push the weight of the build up. I personally use the Vista or the Nebula Pro. That's the direction I would go. And I'm not that excited about the Air Unit. Aman, if your super chat didn't get published, then I'm going to guess it didn't go through for some reason. So you can just resend it, or maybe there's some reason why it's not going through. Sir Lancelot says in the Discord, thank you for being a patron, Sir Lancelot. As a reminder, if you want to hang out in the Discord with these beautiful, beautiful people, there's a link in my video description to my Patreon page. And you can join my Patreon for as little as $2 a month. $2 a month. Or more. It's up to you. If you feel like I've earned it. Sir Lancelot says, I have an X9 Lite. What's the best way to get Express LRS 2.4 on it? That is a tough question, Sir Lancelot, because the Happy Model modules, right now, I believe they are not light modules. Anybody in the chat or the Discord who wants to confirm that, I don't think anyone is making an Express LRS module in the light form factor. Now, if you have access to a 3D printer, there are adapters you can print that will adapt a light module to a JR form factor, but obviously that's a little clunky. You don't always want to do that. I think what I would do is I would buy the Ghost, the Immersion RC Ghost light module. I'm 99% sure you can put Express LRS on that. Once you do that, you can't go back to Ghost. It's a one-way trip. But it sounds like that's where you're interested in going anyway. Once you've done that, I do believe you will be able to use the 2.4 gig Express LRS modules, or Express LRS receivers from Happy Model. So here's what I would say. Double check, maybe even go onto the Express LRS Discord server and just ask, hey guys, if I get a Ghost Light module, is this going to work? But that's the direction I think you would end up going. How to stabilize GoPro Hero 5 session footage. I mean, Real Steady Go obviously is a great choice. Does it work with the Hero Session 5 though? Real Steady Go doesn't, does it? Because it doesn't have the gyro data. Wow. Help me out here, guys. Does Real Steady Go work with Hero 5 session? I don't think it does. I guess I can just look. I know it works with the original Real Steady, which used just visual information. but that's not what we're asking about. Does it work? I'm going to guess that it doesn't work because I don't think oh, it does. Supported cameras. Hero 5 session. Okay. So the simplest thing to do is to pay whatever, it's like $80 for a license of Real Steady Go and just use that. People in the chat are pointing out that you need to soft mount the camera. You can't use a regular GoPro mount because the gyro data is too noisy. Fair enough. So that's a simple thing you can do. It's not a cheap thing. There's other open source software out there. Like, what's the open source? There's 2 open source projects doing that kind of stabilization. Help me out, chat. And they will also need a soft mount, won't they? Yeah, the Real Steady Go, for those cameras that need a soft mount, you're like talking about like 2 zip ties. You're not just talking about like a TPU mount. You really need a lot of soft mounting. Gyroflow, that's another one. So does Gyroflow have the ability to do... Does Gyroflow have the ability to do... Does it work with the Hero 5 session without soft mounting it? Let me paste this in. There's one other. Gyroflow is one. And then there's one other. Black Box to GPMF works. That's only for Real Steady Go, though, right? Andreas Dalsa, does the Hero 9 need to be soft mounted? I think we have to look. I always have to remind myself using the Real Steady Go page which cameras need soft mounting and which ones don't. Greg Lemons, I see. So these folks are suggesting another thing you could do with the Hero 5 session is you can use the Black Box to GPMF project. So let's find that. So what this project does is it takes your black box gyro data and it uses it sort of syncs it up with your video. So then you can use a stabilization tool like Real Steady Go to stabilize the footage. And maybe the black box gyro data is going to be, it's not going to have that problem where you need to soft mount the camera. Okay, so there are some tools that may be helpful if you're trying to stabilize Hero 5 session camera. I hate the cameras that have to be soft. I mean, I hate the idea that you have to soft mount those cameras to use like Real Steady Go with them. If I was a serious professional who wanted to get that kind of footage, I would just be using a camera that didn't require that nonsense. But if a Hero 5 session is what you're working with, I wouldn't want to soft mount it. Hero 5 session, you're probably doing freestyle, right? You're probably not doing Cinewhoop stuff because Cinewhoop, they would tend to use a higher quality camera because they don't care as much about the weight on a Cinewhoop because they don't need the agility. So I'm going to guess if you're using a Hero 5 session, you're doing freestyle, in which case, shame on you for stabilizing, you cheater. No, I'm teasing. Mostly. And with freestyle, you wouldn't want to use those soft mounts because the camera's going to get ripped off. Those soft mounts are going to stay, it's just going to get lost in a crash. So I think the workflow of taking your black box gyro data, using black box to GPMF to sync your black box gyro data with your video from your Hero 5 session, if that lets you skip the soft mounting, I think that's a useful workflow. Ross has a drone. If you've got a Hero 9 that is failing to record 4K 60, I know you've heard this already, but I'm going to say it anyway. Are you sure it's not your SD card? Exhibitry says, subscribing to your Discord has been an invaluable learning accelerator. Many thanks to you and the great community here. I also have to say thanks to the great community on my Discord server because, as I have said in other streams, my Discord server has crossed the line where I am no longer able to keep up with everything that's going on it. And thankfully, there are just so many great members of the server who help other people in the way that, like, they seem to share the value of trying to help people solve problems that I feel like I have. And so thankfully, every time I do look at the server, it's always like, oh, great, questions are getting answered. This is amazing. I feel a little bit guilty because I'm the kind of person who always wants to take everything on myself. But, you know, everything's getting done. I'm super thankful. So, yeah, in fact, I guess I'll do a little announcement. I haven't shown these publicly yet. I am ordering, these are coming soon. I am ordering some challenge coins, little medallions, and I'm going to be using these as a special thank you to some of the folks. I specifically ordered these to say thank you to the folks on my server who are so helpful. But they're coming. You can't really see it very well because the camera's not focused right. But this is just like a sample they sent me for approval. I know there's. I got the idea to have these made because, like, I see Botgrinder gives them out on his live streams. I don't plan to go that direction with them. I plan to specifically use them as I mean, you won't be able to sort of win one, if you will, or buy one, but to specifically use them as a thank you to people with whom I have a particular connection, I guess. Nothing wrong with the way Botgrinder does it, but oh my God, Botgrinder ripoff! Come on, Botgrinder didn't invent challenge coins. Go look up the history of challenge coins. All right, but I do think it's a great idea, and I'm giving credit to Botgrinder, who was the one that I got the idea from. So, give me a break. All right, let's see here. Sir Lancelot in the Discord wants to know, can I use the TBS Crossfire Nano retrofit kit with the Happy Model ELRS TX? I wouldn't assume so, Lancelot, but it's possible. The retrofit kit is taking the light module. It just depends on the size and the mounting of the board. Like, are the screw holes in the same place? It's possible. In fact, I'm vaguely recalling that we had this question once before and that the answer might have been yes. So it's possible that you can, but I don't know for sure. Again, I would absolutely send you over to the Express LRS Discord. In fact, here, let's do it. Let's do it right now. Here we go. We're going to go over to the Express LRS Discord. I'm going to go literally, I'm going to just, oh, where's my, okay. I'm going to just copy and paste your channel. I'm going to paste the question in here, and we're going to see, we'll check back in, and we'll see if we get an answer. The Express LRS Discord is super amazing. Put that there. We'll check back in on that question. King of Losing, thanks for $5 Canadian. Can you recommend a lightweight FPV motor? King of Losing, I feel like the FPV Cycle 5-inch motor is surprisingly lightweight for its size and performance. So it's a 33-ish gram motor, but that's a typical weight for a 2306, but it's like a 2506. So you get the performance of a big motor with the weight of a standard motor. If you're looking for a lighter weight motor, I probably would steer you to the T-Motor F40 Pro. F40 Pro 4. I think it's around 28 grams for a 2306. Let's just double check that. Weight, 30.8. Damn. I really thought it was still, that's respectable. That's pretty respectable. 30 grams for a 20. I said 33 grams was pretty typical for a 2306. 30.8 grams. It's 31 grams. I swear there's a 28-ish gram 2306 out there. But I think this is, the F40 Pro is one of the best lighter 5-inch motors you can get. I would steer you that direction. 533. Hang on. Let me look up. Somebody saying the 533 motors are crazy light. Okay, that is not. I just want the motor. How much is the 533 2207 motor? How much does it weigh? Wait. Oh, that is not. Wow. Wow. Okay, so there you go. That must be the motor I was thinking of. Here's a 2207 that weighs 28.4 grams. That's completely respectable. So, and frankly, that's a $22 motor too. Yikes. Okay, well, there you go. 22. This is, I mean, nominally this is a racing motor, but at the end of the day, it's a 2207 1960 kV. For freestyle, you might consider putting a motor output limit to reduce that kV just a little. A lot of times for freestyle, you would choose to have a little less top-end power in exchange for a little longer flight time. But that'd be a great choice for a freestyle motor if you wanted lightweight. Aman says the AMAX 2306 are 23 grams, excluding wire. But Chewy says they are super fragile. At a weight of 23 grams, I would expect so. Going back to the question about the Happy Model Express LRS TX, Joss in the Express LRS Discord says Maker Fire has a 2.4 gigahertz light module for T-Light. Is that true? That's amazing if that's true. I didn't know that. Maker Fire. Oh, hot damn. Okay, I was wrong. Going back to the question about Express LRS, I said that the Express LRS that no one had made a light module. That is incorrect. Here we go. Maker Fire. Express LRS TX module, light module for T-Light. Damn. So don't buy that ghost module and flash it. Save yourself like $80. ETA around the end of May. So it's not currently available, but it is coming. That's amazing. Thank you, Joss. All right, there you go. Express LRS Discord comes through. Going back to my own Discord now. Let's get out of that other Discord. Let's see. Let me catch up on some of these super chats here. Wade FPV, thanks for a £2 super chat. Grandpa FPV, thank you for $5. TX16S Hall sensor gimbal is twitchy, even in calibrate, almost like a bad ground. Can I spray with contact cleaner? Metal dust? What might fix it? Grandpa, if it's twitching even when you calibrate, I do agree you may have a bad gimbal. It could be the gimbal itself, though. It may not be a wiring issue. If it's brand new, I would try to get it fixed under warranty, right? I would try to get it fixed under warranty. Don't fix it yourself. If you want to fix it yourself, you can try resoldering the connections. I think is it a plug? It might be a plug. Or you could just replace the gimbal. The gimbals are available as spares. Looney 2010 says, oh, very interesting. Looney, how is that possible? Looney 2010 says that module only fits the jumper T-Light, not the FreeSky radios. Is that not actually a light module bay? Oh. Oh, I see. It plugs directly in. It is not a light module. Wow. I see. My bad. You could probably still find a way to make it work, but it wouldn't plug directly into a standard light module bay. Okay. There you go. Mr. Stubbs in the Discord wants to know what flight controller and ESC would be good for the switchback, since a lot of parts are out of stock, Mr. Stubbs. Mr. Stubbs, in the latest new product roundup video I did on my channel, I rounded up some 20mm ESCs that I thought looked promising. Let's go look. Specifically from the perspective of durability. Let's see here. New product roundup. How's my analytics doing? Oh, it's doing okay. It's doing okay. Ooh, plus 62 subscribers. Very nice. A little better than average. Not bad. Not bad. Let's see here, though. What am I looking for? Let's go down here and look at the... Where are the ESCs? Here we go. Great 20mm ESCs. Acon AK32 Pro, Foxeer Reaper, and the Diatone Mamba. Let's take a look at those. These are that Redux Air ESC. I'm still super excited about it, but they're not in stock, and who knows when they will be in stock. So here is one really solid ESC. If you're looking for a good 20mm ESC, it's the Acon AK32 Pro. Is it actually in stock anywhere? Let's look. Now, this is the 50 amp version. This is the 50 amp version in stock at Pyrodrone. So that's a good choice. In stock. This is the 35 amp version, though, so you may want to skip that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference is, the 35 versus the 50, but obviously there's a difference. I would go with the 50, obviously, unless you know you're not going to be pushing it too hard. The other one that I'm super interested in is the Foxeer Reaper. I'm not sure how I feel about this, because Foxeer, as far as I know, has never made an ESC before. But here's what excites me about this. If you look at the size of the FETs, this is a 60 amp rated ESC, and they are using the larger FETs. Like, I don't know enough about electronics to know like what FET this actually is, but just the size of the FETs is larger, and that is encouraging to me. Obviously, the design of the ESC still matters, but anytime I see a 20mm ESC with larger FETs, I'm like, oh. See, look, compared to the FETs on this 35 amp Acon, do you see how much smaller these FETs are? So Foxeer Reaper I want to hear more about it, but on the surface it looks interesting and looks like it might be worth a punt. And then finally there's this Diatone Mamba Race. And this is, I can't find the ESC available by itself. And maybe it has to be available by itself. The cool thing about this is that they didn't put through holes, and they gave them more room to use larger FETs. But the mounting is going to be a little tricky. You can't use a through screw, but it's got a giant heat sink to help reduce heat. And actually, I mean, I haven't actually seen the FETs on it, but presumably they used larger FETs and made it more durable. So they're saying it's 75 amp rated. So those are some 20mm ESCs that might be worth looking at. Continuing to clear out some of these super chats. Aman, thank you for 100 rupees. For a freestyle build, what are your views on the free range frame and AMAX motors? I think it's a very light combo. Well, let's take a look at the free range frame. I'm not familiar with it. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head. Hyperlight free range. So the Hyperlight line of frames was originally designed by Bob Ruge, Kebab FPV, in partnership with Pyrodrone. I don't know the details of what happened, but Kebab no longer uses the Hyperlight name, and Kebab he calls his frames FPV Cycle, and he has, you'll notice that he's nowhere on these pages. It seems like Kebab and Pyrodrone had some kind of a falling out. And I'm sort of torn here because I don't want to start shit or talk shit or spread gossip. I have a feeling that there's some bad blood between them, and that Kebab is not entirely happy about the way that relationship ended, and the fact that Pyro still uses frames that are based on his designs. So I just want to say, anytime I find myself talking about a Hyperlight frame, you know, I have a lot of respect for Bob. He seems like a stand-up guy, and if he's got a bad taste in his mouth about the Hyperlight frames and Pyro selling them, then I find myself wanting to care about that. Having said that, we can take a look at the frame and judge it on its own merits. I only know this because on my Ultimate FPV shopping list, I had the Glide frame, and I called it the Hyperlight Glide. And Kebab was like, "Could you call it the FPV Cycle Glide? I don't really do that Hyperlight thing anymore." I was like, "Okay." Anyway, this is an interesting frame though, because it uses this aluminum plate. Uses an aluminum plate that could make it a good heat sink. In theory, it could increase durability and lighten weight. It looks like the standard split deck design as pioneered by the Apex. What's the weight? $108 grams without accessories. That's pretty lightweight. Very respectable. I guess my big question would be how the durability of the aluminum frame is going to hold up. Whether that's going to get bent or anything in crashes. It'd be an interesting question of how that compares to carbon. I bet it would be fine. It looks like a good frame. It looks like a respectable frame. The other thing is with the metal, is the metal going to be conductive in a way that carbon fiber is conductive, but the surface layer is not. I would be at least a little bit, like, I'd think about how that metal might affect the conductivity of my build. It probably doesn't really matter. So those are some thoughts about that frame. And the AMAX motor is very light, but we heard in the chat that they're also not very durable. Paul McDonald, thank you for a $5 super chat. Still new to FPV. I just got a Foxier cam, and it seems to have its own OSD that lays over Betaflight. What are the differences or benefits? Paul McDonald, the only reason to use a camera's built-in OSD is if you don't have a flight controller, like you're using, like you have an airplane, and there's no flight controller, and you still want voltage monitoring. On all my quads where I actually have a flight controller, what you want to do is you want to plug in the little joystick. A lot of cameras nowadays are not coming with this joystick, but there's a little joystick that used to come with cameras. You can order it separately. You can order it separately. Where's the... camera control board. What are we calling it? Not the camera control adapter. No, I just want the frickin' joystick. Golly. Golly, can I just get the frickin'... Oh my God, you can't have it. You can't find it. What can I search for? It's this thing. Bingo. It's this thing. I don't know. How can you find this? It has to be out there. But it's this little plug thing, this little joystick. Cameras used to all come with them, and then I guess they decided we all already had one, so they stopped shipping them. But what you do is you press up on the joystick for 2 seconds. It brings you into a separate menu. Normally, you enter the menu by pressing the center button. You press up on the joystick, it brings you into a separate menu and lets you turn the OSD off. I do that on all my quads. Runcam keyboard. Thank you, Doghouse FPV, for that link. Runcam keyboard is what they're calling. Runcam OSD keyboard. Thank you, License to Drive. Guillermo Nespolo, thank you for 50 Argentinian pesos. Stingy's a father now. Send him love, because he's not sleeping. Stingy's a father now. I had heard a rumor about that, but I hadn't heard any public statements. Jack Nash, Bright Until I Fly, says, I have loads of those joysticks if anybody in the UK needs some. Yeah, it's nothing special. It's just some resistors. but it's annoying if you don't have one. Elias Benzoy, thanks you for another €2. Much love. Dare for Head, thank you for €5. I've ripped the USB off of my flight controller. Ouch. Seen some different tutorials on how to fix it, but I don't know which one works best for me. If you rip the pads, you're out. You're done. Generally, if you rip off a USB, for me, I would just replace the flight controller. Frankly, if you've lifted the pads, it's basically going to be very difficult to solve in an easy way. Richard Vaughn, thanks for $5 super chat. No text though. 88Ender88, thank you for $5 super chat. Our city council is meeting about banning drones on Monday. Do you have any thoughts on this? Is there a resource to challenge it? This is a tough one. First of all, they can't legally ban you from flying drones because the FAA's interpretation is that only the federal government may regulate the airspace. Now, that hasn't stopped city councils, cities, even states from trying to make laws that violate that. And the problem is that they make the law, they enforce the law, and you have to then sue them. And a court has to say, no, you can't do that. And that costs money. So the fact that it's illegal for them to do that isn't necessarily going to help you. They can ban takeoff and landing, however. And in that respect, even if they're smart, what they'll do is they'll say you may not take off or land except in the case of emergency within the city limits. And at that point, you're basically screwed. They can do that, and there's basically nothing you can do legally to sort of fight them other than like try to, run for city council and change it. The best thing I think you can do is to make statements about, try to convince them that they shouldn't do this. Try to win them over. I don't know if there's much luck with that, though. Mike O, thanks for a $10 super chat. What would you recommend for a 2 to 3 inch Vista-equipped quad with prop guards to fly around my yard? B-Brain has a crappy video and like a 30-second flight time. I need something else for home. What about the iFlight Alpha? The Beta FPV has a naked 85X. It wasn't terrible when I flew it. It is a Beta FPV product, so it's possible the flight controller will have a problem. That's always a risk with them. Beta, but you can buy it. It's naked Vista right out of the box. Rotor Riot has a DigiWhoop. Are they still making the DJI DigiWhoop though, or have they switched it over to Sharkbite? The problem is, it's out of stock. The Rotor Riot DigiWhoop is out of stock. That's a shame. It's a pretty cute little quad. The iFlight Alpha A85. I mean, these when you get down into this size, the performance is not going to be spectacular, especially if it's not a naked Vista. I wish iFlight would make a version of the Alpha A85. This picture isn't loading. I wish iFlight would make a version of the A85 with a naked Vista in it. It would save about 10 grams, and it would be pretty good. That's the direction I think I would go, though. Bubby FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Put a spoiler on your drone. Bubby runs a spoiler on his drone. It's silly. There's no reason to do that, but it looks cool. Twisted FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. My Session 5 battery is very weak. Is there a way to replace it? I do know there's people out there who are buying used Hero 5 Sessions and refurbishing them. I don't know who they are or where they are or how you can get in touch with them. I've heard that they exist. As far as whether you could do that, I think it's going to be pretty tricky. There's no sort of easy solution there. Is there a tutorial like online? How to replace GoPro session lens, battery, and no power fix. Oh, man, of course, Project Blue Falcon has a tutorial. This is probably a wow. He's going to show you how to tear it open and replace the battery. That's really something. After all these years, his tutorials are still out there helping people. So I guess I would steer you to this tutorial and see what you can do. Yeah. Yep. So here's LiveU. LiveU has a tutorial on opening and repairing the Hero 5 session. In theory, you could get another one and take the battery out of it and replace and use the battery from like a broken one. Yeah. Those are some things you could think about doing. Yoni Musher, thanks for $1 super chat. Unpacking from moving. Appreciate the stream. Thank you for being here, Yoni. And we are basically caught up. We're basically caught up. Oh, Henry Knox says R.I.P. Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan. R.I.P. He'll be missed. It's just a joke. People are always saying Joe Rogan died. When he actually dies, no one will believe it. Let's see here. Ton in the Discord asks, when you tested the SkyZone Sky 04s, you didn't experience any of the issues so many people are reporting, like rolling image. Any ideas why? Yeah, I totally know why. The rolling image problem with the SkyZones only happens with certain cameras. If you have a camera that is affected, you will just have a really bad time. And it's not even the model of camera. Like, it's not even like the Runcam Racer has this problem. It specifically relates to the timing of the sync pulses from the camera and how consistent they are. And you could have sometimes there's a particular model of camera that just has a problem. But sometimes it is a specific camera, like most Runcam Racers are fine. I'm just picking Runcam Racer out of thin air just because it's the first name that came to my head. Don't read anything into that. Like you could say most Runcam Racers are fine, but I've got this one and it's bad. Or you could say all the Rattel Nanos have this problem. But the point is that with some cameras, you will have really inconsistent sync pulses that will confuse the SkyZone module, and then you'll get rolling screen. The fix is to put it into diversity mode, to turn off the rapid mix mode and put it into diversity mode. And then you won't get as good performance, but you won't get the rolling screen either. This is something that I called out in my review. I did mention that SkyZone was having this problem. The thing is, most people who use the module won't have this problem. But if you are affected by it, it really screws you over, because what are you going to do? Go buy a different camera? That's not really a good solution. This is something that affected, and I want to point out also, this is not unique to SkyZone. This is something that Rapid Fire had to deal with, and they had to adjust their firmware to deal with this problem. And what I've said in my reviews is that this problem exists. If you are affected by it, you may have to go to diversity mode instead of rapid mix mode, which is disappointing, and that I hope that SkyZone will eventually solve this problem in firmware. But I still have this problem with my rapid fires. If you watch my review of the Naked Vista quads, I had that problem with my rapid fires and I crashed. So the people who are using SkyZones and who are having this problem, it is probably more prevalent than like if you were using Rapid Fire, because it's a new firmware and they still haven't worked the kinks out. But hopefully they will solve it, and it is inherent to this mixing receiver, like Rapid Fire Fusion and the SkyZone, the new SkyZone Rapid Mix receiver. It's an inherent problem of these mixing receivers that when the sync pulses from the camera are good, everything is beautiful. And if the sync pulses from the camera are bad, then you get this problem. And the solution is to not do the Rapid Mix anymore. So I guess my point is, this is not unique to SkyZone. It is a problem that all mixing receivers have to deal with. SkyZone's solution for it is not as good as it could be, probably because it's new firmware. They are working on it. They are releasing firmware updates, trying to make it better. Hopefully they will reach a point where people are mostly happy with it. But the fact that it still happens every now and then on my rapid fires should tell you that this is just an inherent issue that mixing receivers have to solve. And if you don't like it, you can just go back to diversity, which they let you do. Shadow Rider, thank you for a $20 super chat. I want to purchase this Whoop. Can you tell me if this Whoop uses the DJI controller, Beta 95X V3 Whoop Quadcopter HD Digital VTX? If it has a Caddx Vista or a DJI Air unit in it, you can use the DJI controller V1. ETFPV says, you're still having the same problem when taking it off of mix mode. That, I mean, when it goes back into diversity mode, you should get like flashes, like white flashes and lines. That's what mixing gets rid of. But you shouldn't get the black screen and screen rolling. But it sounds like you're saying that's not what's happening. Yeah, Ton, the problem, Ton says, I'm feeling more confident in getting the O4s now. It's very, very tough to try to temper the review of the product, because I think that most people who have bought the Sky O4Xs are really happy with them. But then there's some people who have them and are having a problem with their camera and are really annoyed with them. And I don't want to sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater, but if you buy them, especially if you buy them after watching my review and then you have a bad experience, then you're going to be pretty annoyed about that. And there isn't really a fix except to use different cameras. Well, which camera should I use? I don't know. It's a total crapshoot. Any new cameras coming for Sharkbite? Asks Jeremy Sarge. Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Nice Hash, thank you for a $5 super chat. I got a Flywoo Goku AIO Evo HD flight controller for my Bumblebee build. Factory plug for DJI Ready isn't working. Can I hardwire with the given pads? I mean, you should be able to hardwire it, assuming that the pads are broken out. But why is the plug not working? The plug should really freaking work, shouldn't it, Nice Hash? I would guess that there's a configuration setting you're missing. Like, what's not working? Is it the OSD? Presumably it's the OSD. So I would be checking. I mean, if you soldered a Vista, you could have soldered it wrong. If you're plugging in an Air unit, though, then the wiring has to be correct. So I would check the ports tab next to make sure that MSP is enabled correctly. Is a new DJI Air unit coming? Drew Abbott, the Caddx Air Unit Lite is the replacement for the DJI Air unit. It's already been announced. And in fact, some people have already gotten it. Nice Ash says it's not even powering up the Air unit. So get your multimeter out and see if there's voltage on those pads, right? Or on those wires. Measure with a multimeter, see if it's powering it. Check the wiring, of course. But you can hardwire it. You absolutely can hardwire it. It's just you shouldn't have to. Phil Sonnenberg, thanks for a $5 super chat. Great channel and great info. Quads with Mods, thanks for £2. Do you know what Orca FPV's new feature is? Nope. Maybe. But if I did know, I couldn't tell you. Bannister Post says, sometimes the plugs are sent wrong. Definitely check the wiring. But check the wiring before you plug it in again, that's for sure. Thoughts on all-in-one flight controllers? Nice Hash asks. For a build like a tiny trainer, for a 3-inch build, the all-in-one flight controllers can be a good choice. They significantly simplify and lighten the build. Compared to like a 16, well, maybe not compared to a 16 millimeter, they may not be lighter. But just having a single board solution makes the build more compact and just a little simpler. I have fried several of the Beta FPV F4 toothpick flight controllers. I recently put a Flywoo Goku F745. It's supposed to be like I don't know, is it 45 amps? It's supposed to be a bigger ESC, and maybe I'm just hoping that it's more durable. The problem with the toothpick style all-in-one flight controllers is they tend to be less durable because you're just putting more electronics onto a smaller PCB. And when the OSD chip on my Beta FPV F405 toothpick flight controller died. And now I just have to replace the whole freaking thing. Like, I have to just basically throw out the ESC. I mean, I don't have to, but I want an OSD. So if any part of it goes wrong, the whole thing is going to be fried. So it's a trade-off. I certainly would not run an all-in-one toothpick style flight controller on like a 4-inch or a 5-inch, maybe a 4-inch, maybe, but not on a 5-inch. Because on a 5-inch build, there's little incentive not to use a separate flight controller and ESC. You have the size. Unless you're trying to do like an ultra slammed build, you have the size. So just use a double stack. And then if your ESC dies, you don't have to replace your flight controller or vice versa. And I think the durability is going to be higher. There's toothpick flight controllers out there rated like the iFlight H7 Beast. It's rated for something like 60 amps. But if you compare that toothpick flight controller that is rated for 60 amps with an actual 30 millimeter ESC that's rated for 60 amps, which one do you think is going to be more durable? I mean, obviously, right? So. They have their place, though. They have their place. FPV-ish says, a couple months ago you did a video on which lightweight frame was the best to build on, and you had a selection of frames. Which frame did you ultimately pick? Interesting question. I've said previously that I'm working with Lumineer to develop a customized version of the QAV-S. It's going to be coming soon, the QAV-S JB edition. I've talked about some of the changes I made to the frame. I'll be talking more about that when I do a release video. In addition, it's a QAV-S. It's slammed. It's only 22 millimeters high, which saves some weight. It's got a solid top plate instead of the split top plate, which gets rid of one of the center standoffs, which saves a little bit of weight. There are a few other small changes. Those are the major changes, though. Basically, it's a QAV-S. It's going to come in around 115 grams with the battery pad. In addition, we went from 2 millimeter to 3 millimeter plate for the bottom front plate to give it a little more durability. And because of the other lightning changes that were made, that still kept the weight pretty low. So that's going to be coming out soon. In addition, apropos of nothing, I'd like to point out that I'm doing a subscription box with FPV Crate this month. We'll be releasing a new product. I'm not allowed to say what it is because they like to keep the subscription box as a surprise. But there's a new product from me and in that FPV Crate box. Yeah. Wonder what it could be. Somebody asked, are subscription boxes in general a good deal? I'm not a huge fan of subscription boxes in general. Like, for example, my wife got me for Christmas a hot sauce subscription box. That's a little different. Like, if I get 3 random hot sauces in the mail, I'm probably going to be happy. I'm going to try them out. Like a makeup subscription box for the ladies. You pick a palette, and then they send you some new makeup, and you're like, oh, cool, try this makeup out, maybe. The more specific a subscription box is, though, the more likely that you're going to get stuff that you didn't want, right? So an FPV subscription box, you're going to get, a flight controller, let's say. Did you want to, like, let's say it's a 20 millimeter flight controller, but you don't build micros. Oh, well, so screw you. Too bad. Let's say they give you a video transmitter, but you fly DJI. Oh, screw you. Too bad. You know, so it's more likely with an FPV subscription box that you're going to get stuff that you kind of didn't want anyway. In addition, if you look at some of the stuff that has gone into some subscription boxes, sometimes it feels like they're basically just clearing out old stock. I've seen how sometimes you just have to scramble to fill the box. Because, like, sometimes there's a new product that you want to announce to the world, like a new frame. And you say, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to put one in the subscription box. And, you know, we'll give it at a little bit of a discount. We'll still make a little money because, you know, there's some margin there. And if you know you're going to send out 1,000 subscription boxes, you can afford to give up a little bit of margin on the frame. So you put the frame in the subscription box, you send it out, people get a brand new frame. You know, it's a great way to launch a new product. Fantastic. Everybody's excited. But then next month, the people who are trying to fill the box are like, what are we going to put in the box this month? I don't know. Let's go hit up some vendors. Hey, do you want to put your flight controller in this box? What are you talking about? We're out of stock. We've sold out. We don't have anything. It's not like we have 5,000 flight controllers sitting around and we're like, yeah, take 1,000 of them. We'll give you a volume discount. No, crap, what are we going to put in this box? Oh, well, here's a bunch of old ESCs that didn't sell. And they're just sitting on the shelf. Okay, let's put that in the box. Okay, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody in specific. But I am saying, when you get a subscription box, and in the subscription box is like a 2-year-old flight controller, that's how it happened. Nobody was like, you know what would be really good for this month's box? They were just like, we got nothing, bots. Well, we got to send out 1,000 boxes this month, and they got to have something in it. What can we get 1,000 of? Well, there's a flight controller that nobody wanted. Okay, let's do it. And those subscription boxes go out of business. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody in specific. So, what you want to do is you want to look at the subscription boxes. If you're thinking of buying one, look at the stuff that's gone in the box. Because people do these openings, right? And look at the last 6 months of the stuff that was in the box and ask yourself. Because here's the thing. Every single time, I guarantee you will get more retail price than the price of the box. They always make sure you're getting $80 retail worth of stuff for $50 worth of box. Guaranteed. But the question is it stuff that you're going to actually want? So go look at the last 6 months of, you want to, FPV Crate, if you want this month because it's my box. I've heard people say that I don't usually buy it, but I'm going to buy it because it's your box. Cool. You could buy a one-off. It's like $10 more. It's $60 instead of $50. If you get the subscription, it's $50, I think is the price. But if you're thinking about subscribing, go on YouTube and search for FPV Crate Unboxing. And people who have the box do unboxings, and you could just look at the last 6 months worth of stuff and ask yourself, does it look like they're sending out good shit that I would want? Or does it look like they're clearing inventory? And decide for yourself. The other thing to keep in mind is, like, I feel like FPV Crate, when FPV Crate announced that they were going to be doing a subscription box, I had a good feeling, because when a subscription box is tied to a store, like a big store like Get FPV, FPV Crate is affiliated with Get FPV, they have more ability to source stuff, good stuff. They have more pull with vendors. They just have more money to throw around. So, yeah. I haven't seen what FPV Crate has been sending out for the last 6 months, but in general, I think they're probably doing a pretty good job. But decide for yourself. I also like that FPV Crate has both a sub 250 and a regular box. So my stuff is not going to be in the sub 250 box. The stuff that we're putting out is not sub 250. I don't know what they're putting in the sub 250 box that month. But I love that they've got both a sub 250 and a regular box because it lets you tailor it towards stuff you're actually going to want. It's a great move. Anyway. True Gent, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's the best analog module for the DJI V2 goggles? I think right now TBS Fusion is probably the best value. TBS Fusion has, I feel like it is equal, close enough as makes no difference, performance to the Rapid Fire. The Rapid Fire used to be the hands down best, and I think Fusion has caught up. In my tests, I feel like they're usually very, very close to each other in performance. Fusion is about $110. Rapid Fire is about $150. If obviously prices change, but Fusion is a fair whack cheaper since it has equal performance and is cheaper. I feel like that's the way to go. Tark61, thank you for a $10 super chat. Do you think SharkBite will take over analog? Not at the current price point. There's two things that SharkBite would have to do to take over analog. Number one is it has to come down closer to price parity. SharkBite video transmitter, the 200 milliwatt one I think is around $50. The 500 milliwatt one is closer to $100. Let's look up those prices. Make sure I think I'm in the ballpark. Yeah, $50 for the 200 milliwatt VTX. Stop with your pop-ups. Get FPV. $99 for the, and will not restock. Wow. Okay. I heard they were working on a 30 millimeter form factor of this VTX, a single board 30 millimeter. One of the weakness of this VTX is the dual board. The connector between the boards is a weak spot. So apparently it's not just out of stock, but will not restock. So apparently that's dead. My point being that right now, SharkBite video transmitters are more expensive than analog. Yes, there are $45, $50 analog VTXs out there. They are top of the line, 1 watt plus, VTXs. And there's plenty of $20, $25 VTXs for people on a budget. SharkBite there will always be people who will choose analog because of the budget. And until there is a digital option at the $25 price point, which maybe there never will be, never is a long time, but and there will still be some analog pilots out there. Right now, the other difference with SharkBite and analog is the output power. Which will go further? A 1+ watt analog VTX or a 500 milliwatt SharkBite VTX? The analog one will go further. It's got twice as much output power. That's just too big of a difference. I mean, you could argue, well, the SharkBite will have better resolution, so you'll be able to go further into the breakup. Maybe that's true, but the raw output power of analog is going to outdo it. Now, the image quality of the analog is not going to be as good, but I think you will have usable image longer on 1 watt analog compared to 200 or 500 milliwatt and certainly 200 milliwatt SharkBite. So the two things that SharkBite has to do if it wants to take a big bite out of analog, number one is it needs range that is closer to like an 800 milliwatt or 1 watt analog VTX. The obvious way to do this would be to simply increase the output power, and there are manufacturing reasons why they haven't been able to do that. They struggled with heat dissipation on the 500 milliwatt VTX, and they struggled with reliability, getting it manufactured to a point where it wouldn't just burn itself up. And it seems like the fact that they've discontinued it means that they've sort of acknowledged that they didn't quite get there. So it needs range that is comparable to an 800 milliwatt or 1 watt VTX. SharkBite, great for racing. 200 milliwatt VTX, fine for racing, right? But if you're flying freestyle, you want more penetration than that. And then the other thing that it would have to do is get the price down. And it doesn't have to be exactly at parity with analog because the quality is better, but it has to be closer. So like I would be thrilled to see an 800 milliwatt, 30 millimeter form factor, or 20 millimeter would be amazing, but I doubt it. I doubt they can do it. They've struggled with that form factor already. It would be amazing to see an 800 milliwatt SharkBite VTX, 30 millimeter single board, something like that. Then the question would be price. But at least at that point, you have clearly, right now, SharkBite wins compared to analog when it comes to image quality. But it loses when it comes to analog on price and range. Right? And so a lot of people are still going to choose analog. If SharkBite comes out with an 800 milliwatt VTX, presumably it will win on quality and it will win on range and lose on price. And then, you're winning on 2 out of 3, and that's going to win a lot of people over. The other thing SharkBite, I think, should do, I mean, look at me with my live stream just telling them what they should do. Meanwhile, they're actually running a business, so, F me. The other thing, I don't understand why they have not released a good camera, like a Runcam Eagle, with a 1/2-inch sensor and a glass lens, a big glass lens. Why? Why are all of the cameras for SharkBite tiny, crappy cameras with plastic lenses? Why would you not show it off at its best? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I mean, there's got to be a business reason why they're doing it. I can't imagine what it would be. A nano camera, right? Anyway. Like even just a glass lens would make a difference, which we know because people are swapping the cameras out for glass lenses, and they see that it makes a difference. It really seems like they shot themselves in the foot. Like the VTX not being a 1 watt, like I get it. They couldn't figure out how to manufacture a 1 watt VTX that was, they wanted it to be lightweight so they could argue they were lighter weight than DJI, and that would give them 1 point against DJI. Like, so they had to take what they could get. They couldn't beat DJI when it came to sort of pure resolution or pure range. So how are we going to compete? We're going to compete on latency. We're going to compete on price a little bit. We're going to compete on lightweight and size. Okay, fine. Like, I get that. Why not a better camera? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Excuse me. Juldor says, why can the TBS Unify Pro 32 handle 1.2 watts of output so good, and it's smaller than the SharkBite one? Juldor, I don't know the answer to that. Suffice it to say that there's other stuff going on. Like the SharkBite has digital processing, and maybe those chips add heat. There's more stuff on that board than just the RF amplifier. So if you assume that any given RF amplifier is going to generate a certain amount of heat, but then on the Unify, the whole rest of it is just analog circuitry, whereas on the SharkBite, you've got some digital, like an ASIC or something that's just churning away. Well, maybe that's generating heat. Like if you think about it, you're basically doing some kind of like video encoding, and video encoding is processor intensive. And so I'm going to guess that there's other things on the SharkBite unit that are generating heat that they couldn't deal with. In addition, transmitting an analog signal at 1 watt may be less energy intensive than transmitting a digital signal at 1 watt. The modulation method, like, and here I'm really just pulling this out of thin air. I don't know if this is true, but it may not be generating the same amount of heat to transmit an analog signal, a simple analog signal at 1 watt compared to, yeah. FPV et al. Says the price for the new air unit has exploded. Why is this? In all caps with exclamation points. FPV et al., have you noticed that there's a global chip shortage? Have you noticed that you can't buy a graphics card? You can't buy a computer processor? Have you, like, do a Google search for global chip shortage and just educate yourself. The price of everything is electronic is going up. About a month ago, Emax released a new price list. All their quads and flight controllers and went up. Strangely, their motors all went up in price too, which doesn't sort of make sense, but everything is going to be more expensive for at least a year. That's what we're hearing. And not just in FPV, consumer electronics, cars. There are lots right now with 10,000 Ford trucks sitting on the lot. The cars are built. They don't have a computer in them. Like I heard a news story about this. They can't ship them because they just can't get the parts. BeepTube says, they're not going to reduce prices when the shortage is over. As long as there's competition, price will come down, right? As long as there's competition, price will come down because somebody will undercut. FPV et al. Says, still, this is outrageous. What's outrageous? Outrageous. How dare they? Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. How dare they? You don't know. Do you think I don't think they want to raise prices. I mean, they held off raising prices for a long freaking time. I'm thinking about Emax. Emax sent a price list out to vendors. It was leaked. It was widely leaked. And the price of most Emax stuff went up by maybe 20%. I know for a fact that the price of the components had already gone up for like a couple months, and they held off raising the price to the consumer, and they just ate it. Nobody wants, they want to sell you stuff. They know that if they raise the prices, you won't buy it. Nobody wants to be the first to raise prices. They're being forced to do it by various things. Paul Appleton, thank you for a £5 super chat. What KV would be best for my 6S build if I'm using 2400 KV on 4S now? Paul, here's the way to do that conversion. 4 out of 6 is 0.666. It's 2/3. So then you multiply that by your 4S KV to get your 6S KV. And you'll find that the equivalent KV is 1600 KV. However, you'll also find that most 6S motors are closer to 1700 KV. And I'm not sure why. People seem to prefer a little higher KV on 6S. And I'm not sure why, but that's because 2400 KV is a little high on 4S. Not that high. But if you were to take let's take 1750, which is a pretty typical 6S KV, and divide by 0.666, that's 2625 KV. There are very few people running 2600 KV on 4S. That's like a really high KV for 4S. But on 6S, 1750 KV, if anything, is pretty normal. And some people are running 1800 or 1900 KV. So my thinking is that 6S voltage gives you a little more performance that lets you push that KV a little more without just like crushing the quads, crushing the battery. Yeah. Nice Hash, thanks for a $5 super chat. Not related to FPV. Have gotten out to test FreeFly's wave camera. Looks badass. FreeFly's wave camera. I have not. I haven't done anything with FreeFly. What is the FreeFly wave camera? Continuous high-speed video. No, I haven't got to test this $10,000 camera. It looks pretty cool. It was just like an ultra slow-mo camera. No audio, please. Yeah, it's a slow-mo camera. Okay. I have not tested this $10,000 camera, so It looks badass. Sure, definitely. Thank you for the super chat. Bannister Post says DOPs on set have said they hate it. The DR and noise is really bad. The DR, dynamic range. Oh, well, for high-speed video, I mean, it probably depends a lot on your frame rate. 420 FPS 4K is pretty impressive. What else can give you 420 FPS 4K for $10,000? I mean, it feels like it is. I mean, a $10,000 camera you'd initially think, oh, that's a pro grade camera, but a $10,000 420 FPS 4K camera is pretty budget in a way. I won't be putting one on a quad, that's for sure. No good for pro use though, say the folks in the Discord. Phil Sonnenberg, thanks for a $5 super chat. What receiver would be compatible with the Jumper T Lite? Neither of my Radio Link R9 or R12 will bind. Yeah, no, the Radio Link receivers don't bind. Oh, can multi-protocol modules bind to Radio Link? I would just get a FreeSky RXSR or a Jumper R1. What's the best analog module for DJI V2 goggles? Says TrueGent. Tark61, we got you. Andy Sylvester says, I need a suitable LiPo for my DJI V2 goggles to power the goggles and head tracker. Up to 4S or capacity for a 2 hours use, but not brick heavy. 2 hours of use. I think the standard DJI 3000 milliamp hour goggle battery will nearly give you 2 hours of use. So you'd be looking at something like, I don't know if I would want to put it on my head strap though. Can you not put it in your pocket? Because obviously if you put it in your pocket, you can use, a 3000 milliamp hour 3S and just go forever. Not brick heavy. The bottom line, man, the energy density of these batteries is pretty standard. So if you need a battery of a certain capacity, it's going to weigh a certain amount, and there's not going to be a lot of latitude there. I would definitely be looking at something like a lithium ion pack. They're going to be able to discharge down to 2.5 volts per cell, and so you're going to get more milliamp hours for your weight. Maybe something like 21700 size lithium ion, 5000 milliamp hours. That's the direction I would go. What if you built a 3S 21700 milliamp hour pack? That's, I think, the direction I would go. Josh Feltz, thank you for a $2 super chat. How confident are you we will ever get another DJI firmware? Not that confident. DJI seems to have moved on, and we're just going to keep milking. Like, you see that documentary? There's a documentary about car culture in Cuba. Cuba, sometime in like the 50s or the 60s, I don't know the year that this happened, the United States placed an embargo against Cuba, and they weren't allowed to import automobiles from the U.S. anymore. And that went on, I think that was only like recently, it may have been lifted recently. But Cuba has this car culture with all these like 1950s cars that have been just beautifully preserved because they just don't have the ability to get new stuff. Anyway, I saw this documentary about it. Who knows if this information is correct or out of date. There's all these beautifully preserved 1950s and 1960s cars in Cuba. Here's a picture from Archimedes in the Discord. Thank you, Archimedes. And this is kind of where we're at with the DJI system, because it very much feels like DJI has put out their last firmware for the Air unit. When was the last time they updated? It was a long time ago. There were a couple little releases related to the release of the FPV drone, but I don't feel like we're getting a whole lot of engineering resources from them, and so we're going to just keep milking it like those Cuban guys milk those old cars until something better comes along. Aaron Phillips, thank you for a $5 super chat. My VTX signal is great at the beginning of a flight, but progressively gets worse. My guess would be that your VTX is overheating. Is your VTX exposed to airflow from the props, or have you somehow enclosed it? Aaron Phillips, my guess is it's overheating. Will Caddx be able to make firmware? Tommy Brickler. I doubt it, Caddx. Caddx, I don't think Caddx actually manufactures the stuff. I think at the best they assemble it. This is pure speculation. If you just look at the build quality of the DJI circuit boards and you look at the build quality of Caddx's, like look at a Caddx Tarsier. Take a DJI Air Unit or Vista circuit board and take a Caddx Tarsier and look at them side by side and tell me if you think the same company made both of them. Right? So I doubt Caddx is working on the firmware. T4J says Caddx said they could make firmware in the future. I mean, I would love it if they would. I would love it if they would, because I doubt that DJI is going to put a lot of resources into making new firmware for this stuff. And I do think that Caddx has the engineering resources to develop the firmware. So I would love it if they would. I would be surprised, but if Caddx says they're going to be doing it, maybe they will. Let's see here. I think I'm caught up with... I was working my way back through the Super Chats, and I think I'm mostly caught up. There are some new Super Chats that have come in that I'm going to pause on because we'll just take some other questions for a little bit. There's no way they'll release the source. No. When has DJI ever released the source of anything? Tell me in the chat. Let's see here. What are the most important things to check in the first flight of a quad? Asks Dominic L. Dominic, I've got a video about maidening. I've got a video about how to maiden. Let's go with this one. FPV drone budget build. My maiden flight. I mean, the thing that I do... Quadcopter pre-maiden checklist. This video suggests that you need to make sure that disarm works and failsafe works. So yeah, you definitely need to test failsafe with props off. Check that you can disarm. Here, I'll put this one in the chat as well. This is an older video. But oh my God, look at that quadcopter. That's the Cerberus, I think, from freaking... I'm blanking. Is it in the chat? No. That's the Cerberus, I'm pretty sure. Look at that old frame. My God, we've come so far. I love freaking... So cool. Look at that video transmitter strapped onto the top with dip switches. Ha! Oh my God. Wow. Emax Motors, baby. Baller motors. Yeah, so absolutely. Failsafe check, test failsafe, test that you can arm and disarm, and then safely do a hover to be prepared for the possibility that your props are wrong, your motors are spinning the wrong way. Flynoceros, thank you, Mike Bergman. Flynoceros out of business now, but way back when. Thank you, Michael Hill, for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Paul Appleton, for a £2 super chat. What's your opinion on the Ethics 1750KV? My opinion is that it's impossible to talk about ethics without riling up steel fanboys, and so it's risky to just give an honest opinion, or without being seen as like coming after him. I've liked the way those motors flew on my steel build, the Steel Stout motor. I'll say the same thing about this that I would say about any $27 motor, though, is you got to look at what you're getting. And I'm not going to go into the big rant about why the many reasons why I no longer make the JB motors. But the price versus value of those motors was one of the things that motivated me to stop making them. Because if you look at a $27 motor, and I've said this about my own motors, so this is not digging on anybody else. If you look at the price of this motor versus what you get, and you want to compare it like to, like, where are the specs? I don't see the specs. It is a 29 gram motor, which is really impressive. So it is a very lightweight 2306 motor. But if you compare it to something like my go-to, if you compare it to something like the iFlight Zing, which is a $22-ish motor, there's a $20 Zing 2306. It's $20 from iFlight. It might be. Can we please get the images to load, iFlight? This is a fantastic motor for $22. It has everything you could ask for from a motor. Like if you look at the spec list for the Zing motor, 7075 aluminums, Unibel design, titanium shaft, yada, yada, yada. You run down the list. And every $27 motor with a pilot's name on it has to answer the question, why would I spend $5 more for your motor versus getting something like a Zing? Or even if you compare, yeah, so I think that's a tough question. I think motors like the Zing, and I'm picking on the Zing because it's the first one where I looked at the spec list and went, this motor ticks all the boxes. And is there more to a motor than just the spec list? Okay, yes. But if there's a $27 motor out there and it doesn't have 7075 aluminum and a titanium shaft and a high quality NSK bearing and all those other things, you could, why are you paying $5? Why are you paying $27 for that motor, not buying the other one? And maybe you have an answer for that question. Like, a lot of people are going to buy the Steel motors because that's what Steel flies. That's what his tune is based on. And you just want to emulate his build. Totally get that. When I flew Steel's build, it had something. It flew really well. Which part of it made it fly so good? I don't know. The whole package is mwah. So, people say, oh, I built a Steel Apex, but I put different motors on it. Well, you've changed the formula. Maybe it's not going to be as good. But if you're just looking for, hey, I'm looking for motors, I feel like my pick would be something between $14 for an Emax Eco and like $22 for a Zing 2306. That's the sweet spot for motors, in my opinion. And you got to really want something special to spend $27 on a motor. That's my opinion. Thank you, Kim Arbuckle, for $50. That's a big super chat. Thank you, Kim, for a $50 super chat. Thanks for your continued help and knowledge in solving the problems I have with my quads. Thank you. That means a lot. Let's see. FPV Drone Men. Thank you for a $2 super chat. My 45 amp Sux XE won't connect to BL Heli 32. I mean, I assume that it's a BL Heli 32 ESC. No. That's a BL Heli S ESC. That's why it won't connect. Use BL Heli Suite instead of BL Heli 32. Yeah, that's why it won't connect. Michael Hill, thanks for a $10 super chat. Raptor Claw 85, thanks for a $5 super chat. Been looking for the smallest DJI quad. The Tron 80 sucks, but any thoughts on the P16 thinking? Who makes the P16? Gep RC. I think the Gep RC thinking P16 is okay. How does it compare to the Rocket? Like, I flew the Rocket Light and I liked it a lot. What's the difference between the P16 and the Rocket? Is it smaller? It looks like it's smaller. I liked the Rocket Light. I thought it was pretty solid for what it was. So based on that, I feel like I would feel okay with the thinking P16, but I'd want to do some research to see if there were any like known defects with it. Wow, Israel Castellan, thank you for a $100 super chat. That's a giant super chat. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your help with my work project. Have a good day. Oh, wow. Thank you. That's a huge donation. I really appreciate it. Doc Ock. Let's not say that name wrong. Doc Ock 100. Thank you for a $5 super chat. £5 super chat. The corner of my iFlight H2 drops really hard when I drop to 0 throttle. It's better with air mode, but still evident. Full throttle's fine. Make sure your idle speed is high enough. If you have a motor that is damaged or an ESC that's damaged, the motor could be stalling at low throttle. But the first thought would be that you've got your idle speed too low, and that motor is just the first one to stall. So try raising your idle speed a little bit. If you have to take your idle speed past about 7%, maybe 9%, then something's seriously wrong. Of course, there's always the suggestion, swap the motor, see if that fixes the problem. All right. Technobabbler says, what are your thoughts on building a Diatone GT R349 versus what's available today? The R349 is a really nice, like a 3-inch, heavier-ish freestyle build. What else is out there? I'd have to how much the weight of that? I think is it lighter than like a 3-inch Alien? Not the review. It's still pretty solid, to be honest with you. Where is it for sale? Is it still for sale? Diatone USA, Grayson Hobby. Yeah. Can we get the weight? Can we get the weight? Specs, weight 130 grams without batteries. So that's going to, no, it's going to be lighter than the Alien. The Alien build, the 3-inch Alien is going to come in closer to 300 if Ciotti is to be believed. So it's still pretty light. I think it's still pretty good. Is it 130 grams all up? No, the all up is with battery, Technobabbler. Dry weight would be without battery. Micro Apex, yeah, Micro Apex is closer to 300, so they're not really comparable. The only thing I would say about the R349 is, like, if you look at it, you can tell it's a little bit of a dated build. Like, today, we would be using T-mount props. I just was going through my closet, and there were a bunch of 3-inch props with standard shaft instead of T-mount. And I thought, I bet I'm never going to use these, because everybody's moving to T-mount motors now. So, like, I think a modern build would be using lighter motors, but this is a really solid build even today. Patio Patterson says, my GT349 is 248 grams with an 854S. I suspect that's towards the top end of how they would run, of the weight. Let me ask the chat, what is better today than the Diatone GT349? In that sort of category. Like you could say, oh, we'll build a 3-inch Alien. Yeah, but that's a 300 gram, 350 gram. It's a different thing. Uh-oh. I'm out of water. This live stream better. Oh, good. We're only 7 minutes from the end of the stream, too. Great. Well, it looks like we're 7 minutes from the end of the stream. Is Ciotti here? Ciotti streaming this afternoon? He hasn't seen him in the chat. Diatone Lizard 150. Diatone has a pretty good track record usually. Diatone Lizard 150. Oh, I hate that frame. No, shut up. Forget, I don't care what. This is a joke, right? Okay. Baby tooth. Right, so a 3-inch toothpick is just a different. Now we're talking something in the 70, 80 gram range. That's just a different quad. Avant Avio 3-inch. Avant Quads makes good stuff. They have good track record. Oh, hello. The Avant Avio 3-inch. Avant Quad. Oh, okay. A VO 3-inch frame kit analog version. This is just the frame. They also do a ready to fly build. It looks promising. They tend to build good stuff. Where's the ready to fly? Bind and fly. A VO3 with baby Rattel. What motors have they got on it? Oh, see, T-mount motors. Yeah, so like this just obviously looks like a newer, like a little bit more of an updated build. What flight? Let's see. What flight controller did they put in? Motor Brother Hobby. What motor is it? I should look at the specs here. 1504. Interesting. Yeah. See, this looks really nice. I mean, I haven't flown it. $185 without a receiver. That's compelling. That's a really good choice. Thank you for that. BQE Ripsqueak. Ciati's here. Oh, there he is. Ciati's here. Ciati is going to be streaming after me, starting in about 5 minutes. He can go ahead and start posting that link. Ciati, good to see you, man. Got to hang out with Ciati at Rampage. Mr. Stubbs says Nick Burns likes Avant Quads as well. HX115 HD. I feel like that's more like a toothpick, though. Adam Hickson says, why does my X9D have a real-time clock battery, and do I care that it's low? Adam, the X9D keeps a real-time... Oh, I'm not... Yeah. The X9D keeps a real-time clock for, like, so it can put the time and date on logs. If it's low, you're going to get error messages, which will be kind of annoying. And, but other than that, I mean, it's just, you're going to lose... It's going to lose the time and date, which you probably don't really care that much about. Uh-oh, Ciati. Apparently Steel is having a premiere in 4 minutes. I don't know what he's releasing, but you better start your live stream by reacting to Steel's premiere. Because everybody's going to be watching it. Well, in the last couple minutes of the stream, thank you again to Israel Castellan for a $100 super chat and Kim Arbuckle for a $50 super chat. Big super chats. I really appreciate it. You guys may have noticed this. Check this out. Look what I put on my wall the other day. I've got a new camera mount for my desk for recording here, like for example, if I'm doing some kind of a quad tutorial. But in addition, I mounted it so that it can fit down over my keyboard. I'm super proud of myself. So if you guys see that in the shot and wonder what it is, yeah, just set your camera on it. Where's my... I use this Joby quick release, so you can just bonk right there. How you like that? Yeah. You think it's the ladder dive? Maybe. So look forward to more content shooting down at my desk. I used to have to put a tripod on my desk, which annoyed the crap out of me. I also wrong scene, sorry. There we go. Room is far too tidy this week. Good to see you, Mads Tech. Nice to see you here. Yep, my room is clean. Also, you notice I finally got that workbench changed out. So now I have matching workbench and desk. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll tell you, two minutes in the stream. One of the things I'm excited about doing with this, you may have seen my email live stream a while back. The last email live stream I did, at the end, I started playing this game called Typing of the Dead, which is like House of the Dead, but you type. It's like a typing challenge game. And it was so freaking corny and hilarious that it made me want to do a whole live stream of it. But I thought, if you're going to do a typing game, you really want a camera pointing down at the keyboard. So now that I've got this, I can set this up and I can do another. I'm going to keep your eyes peeled for that live stream. It'll probably won't be planned. It'll be a spontaneous late night thing. But, yeah. But that's going to do it for this stream. Thank you guys for coming out. Good luck, Ciati. Have a great build. Have a great stream. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Monday stream and throughout the week. That's going to do it. You played House of the Dead on Dreamcast, not Typing of the Dead. Oh, Victor Perez, thank you for 20 pesos. You're very risky to come in at the last minute. At the last minute with a super chat. What would be my choice of a HD freestyle frame? Like I said earlier, QAVS JB edition is coming soon. There'll be more content about it. Texercist. Oh, now we're going to get more recommendations for typing is the one thing I can actually do competitively at a high level. There you go. All right, it's 3 p.m. I'm going to check out, and I'm going to let Ciati go ahead and start his stream. Have a great weekend, everybody.